You're listening to Oilersnation Radio, presented by the Nation Network.
Thank you, British lady. Pretty sure she's British. Dan, confirm on that. Is she English, that lady?
I believe she was Australian or British.
Really? I'm dating an Australian. That doesn't sound anything like her. She's from some kind of colony, I assume. By the British, Cam?
Wait, I don't know if the British are a colony.
She's a member of the Commonwealth.
Would you consider England a colony?
Yes, England is a colony under the lands that McDavid runs. Now, this is episode 13 of Oilersnation Radio. It is a podcast that is not on the radio. That's why Cam likes the joke. We've got new microphones today, so we'll see if anybody notices the difference. I'm looking around. We've got new microphones. Cam's got this like spit guard thing in front of him. So
I can't
Dan.
See anyone.
They look like they're ready to drop a verse. I'm looking across at Cory O from Sherwood Ford. The Giant is sitting in with us today.
What's up, guys? Good to be here.
You'll recognize Cory O from his game day videos. We'll be retweeting those. He'll be yelling about the Oilers, getting in the mix with us on game days. I like it. Cory, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing excellent.
Good. Welcome to the table. Chris is sitting out. We punted Chris today.
We did.
Chris is out. Cory's in.
Here we go.
I like it better. We actually should have got you in on the Movember with us, Cory, because looking at you can probably grow something. Look at Dan's Movember update.
Ooh,
it's rough.
That does not look good, buddy.
Yeah.
I could grow one. I could grow a thick one, but you know what? It's kind of scary, honestly.
I think it looked great. Episode 13, of course, brought to you by Sherwood Ford the Giant. Our friends at Sherwood Ford are doing Stuff a Giant Truck event. Cory, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're supporting the Strathcona Christmas Bureau till the end of the month. So anybody that comes in for a test drive, we're giving toys to the kids. So great cause. All you got to do is pop in, do a quick test drive on an F-150, Mustang, whatever you choose, and we're going to toss a toy to the kids. It's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. You can go see them at 2540 Broadmoor Boulevard in Sherwood Park, Alberta. Give them a call at 587-860-1538. Daniel, it was a big week in oil country.
It was.
First of all, before we get to the news from Tuesday morning, we went to Calgary last weekend. I want to just recap that trip real quick.
Confirmed.
Apologies to the Flames fans that had to listen to me screaming at them in the VIP lounge. What I noticed was that they are all out of my age range, Cam. A lot of golden age residents in there.
Oh, they're part of the Emerald Club at Humpty's.
They were trying to enjoy a nice roast beef sandwich, and I was trying to enjoy Connor McDavid's goal.
So they're definitely listening to this podcast.
Of course.
Guaranteed.
Of course they're listening.
What about I think we also need to hand out another apology to Singapore Sam's.
Singapore Sam's is, if you don't know, Singapore Sam's is a place that sells Chinese. It's a Chinese food restaurant that turns into like a weird club type scene.
It's like a group music session.
Yes.
It's like a studio.
Yes. So basically they're pumping tunes by about midnight and everybody just turns into an animal. They let go of their primal selves. They are banging on tables. They've got chopsticks coming in. Wanya just walked in the door. He's supervising the podcast today. Wanya, you'll look around, you'll see new microphones everywhere. Real life podcast on Mondays. We will have new microphones for Wanya to yell in. Back to Singapore Sam's. Cam, you probably broke 24 chopsticks.
Yeah,
That's low. Low.
That's a very conservative estimate. I think I broke 600.
I think my favorite part about it was when the manager guy would just kind of walk out from the back with his arms crossed, surveying the scene and just looking really angry about life.
I went up to a table where people were just sitting there and they were the only chopsticks I could find. And I rounded up all the chopsticks and I was just like, just wait, I would just need these. And they're like, what?
Could you imagine going in there? Like, you're just like, oh, this place is open late. That looks great. I'll score some Chinese food. I could really go for some Szechuan beef or something like that. Then all of a sudden, everybody's laying a beat down on the table. Chris is standing up. He met some ladies of a certain vintage. They wanted him over at their table. Chris looks great with his
Not even just
mustache.
at their table. They wanted him back at their hotel room.
Well, Chris was the feast, and they had hungry eyes, if you will. So shout out to everybody that came on the Nation road trip. It was a fantastic time.
Huge shout out to our bus driver, Barry.
Yes, Barry saved our life.
Kept us alive, literally.
Barry saved our life. There's a couple things from the bus ride. First of all, as we're leaving Edmonton, Rick, who's sitting behind me, spots an absolute legend. Rick, I'll let you tell the story.
just looking out the window, trying to enjoy the scenery as we leave the city. And up beside us comes a guy dunking what looked to be a McNugget into one of 2 or 3 sauces he had open on his dash. We enjoyed that. So I kind of zoomed in a little bit, and right beside the sauces was a plate of chicken wing bones.
Nice.
It was the
Like this dude tore down a pound or 2 of wings and got himself some nuggets. Who sells both in one place? He made 2 stops. He's like, I'm going to Calgary. I need a couple pounds of wings and a 10-piece nuggets, and I'm ready to roll.
I could have used some nuggets on the bus, to be fair.
I think we should have brought that guy on the bus.
Yeah, that guy's a professional right there.
Wow. And just a quick apology to everybody around hotel room 1903. Was it the one where we got in a little bit of trouble
Sure
there?
was.
Maybe we were a little too loud, I think that was.
Yep.
4:00 in the morning.
A lot of
beat
flights
cast,
going out in the morning.
trying to get into that can of beats. That was interesting.
So obviously the Oilers lost to Calgary on Saturday, so I had to go do a beat cast. We had things to do. We went to Knoxville's real quick. We went to Singapore Sam's. We were trying to get into a karaoke bar. That didn't happen. By the time I got back to the hotel room, again, 1903, it was 3 a.m. Dan's already sleeping, and we roll in with 10 people. And I have no can opener. So I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? I can't do a beat cast. I got no can opener. Evan, the intern's just like, know what? I got this. Give me the can. And then Chris hands him a coat hanger. So all we hear is like from the bathroom, and I'm like, what is going on in there? I go in, and Evan is smashing the top of the can with a coat hanger, and he looked so happy with himself.
He was also completely naked. That was one of the terrifying things, is he had blood red eyes. I don't know when it happened. None of his clothes were on. He's slamming it. I see him trying to open it with his teeth.
He did have a nation flag draped around his shoulders.
It was jarring. And Evan, the intern, is a caveman.
He got primal there
He went to a
because
dark
I
place.
walked into the bathroom and there was beet juice everywhere, like a war zone. You know what it looked like? It looked like a Dexter kind of recreation. That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
Dan, Evan told us you missed all this. Well, you were kind of awake. You were in
I
and
was
out.
there. I was listening.
But Evan told us that he cleaned up the bathroom. And what happened when you went into our bathroom the next morning?
He did not. There was beet juice on the shower curtain. There was beet juice on the toilet. There was beet juice out by the coffee machine. I don't even know how he did that. But I ended up leaving the maid a hefty tip.
A little bit
just
of
to
a
make
tip.
sure
Just
to make sure that the complaints didn't flow down too far from floor 19.
Just a quick apology.
Yeah.
Again, though, Dan brought up Barry, the bus driver. He saved our life. There was some kind of accident on the highway. He was an absolute professional, Dan. Chris and I were handing out beers on our licensed bus.
Yep.
So we were walking up the aisle, and all of a sudden I hear Lisa Evans from Hot 107 screaming, like a bellowing scream.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I don't think people half the bus appreciated how close to death we were. If you've ever driven between Edmonton and Calgary, you've experienced this before, where you come up over that hill and you just see brake lights everywhere. And when you're trying to stop a bus full of Oiler fans, that's a tough thing to do.
Barry did a great job. Everyone seemed to be just slamming on their brakes and sliding a bit. This little hatchback came within about 1.5 feet of hitting right underneath yours and my seat.
That was the source of Lisa's scream.
Nobody realizes how close this was.
Yeah,
I was watching. That guy was in within a foot.
It was within a foot, exactly.
And he would have been in the luggage compartment in no time.
Yeah.
That highway was a game of snakes and ladders, and Barry navigated it with the utmost grace.
So it took
he swerved around everything. We didn't slide one bit.
It took us 6.5 hours to get down to Calgary.
That was a long bus
On
ride.
we're on a bus trip, with a bunch of.
And we're still looking for that $20 though, aren't we?
We are, yeah. Jay owes us money from our no-win syndicate. So yeah.
Yeah, so we decided to play a little bit of we pooled some money playing some slots, Corey. We decided if we all throw in together, maximize our chances of winning. We came out not quite even. And then Jay pocketed all the cash.
Yep.
We'll take care of you guys when we get to the rink. No problem.
Yes, yeah. I'll take care of you guys on the trip home when we stop at Arby's. No.
How was that ride home? Was that a quiet one or what?
Oh, yeah.
It was a quiet ride home.
Not a peep.
It was a very quiet ride home. And then Oilers come home Sunday night, play in Vegas. brutal. Although, to be fair, first period, they're up 2-1. I'm like, okay.
Looking good, yeah.
Maybe we got something going here. Maybe they're pissed off after last night's game in Calgary. We're going to knock this out. Corey, that didn't happen.
No, that turned ugly very quick. Last 40 minutes of Todd's career was not a pretty one.
Fair enough.
Last 40 minutes of
Didn't even think
Todd's
about it that
career.
way. Yeah, that's tough.
Wow. So we're on our way into the office here at Nation HQ on Tuesday morning, and all of a sudden my phone erupts.
Yeah.
What happened? All of a sudden, Ken Hitchcock. Whoa. Ken Hitchcock coming out of retirement. Coming to save us, Corey. What do you think when you first saw the news that Hitchcock was coming in?
Like, did anybody think that name was coming? Did anybody? Everybody, of course,
Didn't
was
see
talking about Joe Quenneville. Maybe, of course, a couple of the boys that are assistants here. But, I mean, to see Kenny Hitchcock get hired with the Oilers,
Yeah.
that's amazing. At first, you think, geez, this guy actually is still in the league. What's going on here? Then you find out he's still with the Dallas organization.
Yeah, he's a consultant there.
Consultant over there and wants to be back behind the bench. And you start hearing his interviews and wow, what a breath of fresh air, isn't it?
It's crazy. Yesterday he was on he was on Bob McCown's show, that radio show that they film and the dude's always wearing sunglasses. He was talking about how if it wasn't the Oilers, he would have just stayed doing what he was doing. But it was because it was his hometown. He felt obviously his roots are very deep in the community, worked at United Cycle. He started his coaching in Sherwood Park. You know what I mean? It goes way back.
He's got that connection too with Bob Nicholson and Kevin Lowe from the Hockey Canada days. And it feels like this was not a Chiarelli decision.
Well, that was my question, Cam, because he said in the interview that he spoke mostly to Peter Chiarelli. They worked together in Sochi. However, I am with you where I think this is more of a Bobby thing. This is more of a Uncle Wayne called. I was surprised, but I personally don't think it was necessarily a Chiarelli move. Dan, thoughts?
No, I agree. It's Chiarelli. This move with the interim tag attached to it there, where at the end of the season, both parties can kind of decide to part ways or continue on. I think that screams a new GM coming in at the end of the year.
Yeah, and let him pick his guy. Corey, what do you think?
I mean, of course, if he has success, then I could see Ken staying long term.
Sure.
Honestly, by the sounds of it, he wants to be behind the bench. He's comfortable behind the bench. And I mean, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. We're Oilers fans, but I might say this might be the best organizational move that we've ever made.
It's one of those ones too, like when you look into what Hitchcock provides his teams.
Yeah.
I've got some numbers that we're going to get into of when he steps into a team, exactly what happens to their defense. But this is one of those things where I think that this is a guy that's going to push this roster. I think it's a flawed roster. Chiarelli probably has some holes there that he should have filled / not traded / not bought out. There's a whole laundry list here, but who can get the most out of the roster right now? Probably Ken Hitchcock. And he's going to be pushing, he's going to be prodding, he's going to be probing, and he's not going to take any shit from anybody, regardless of who it is on the team. Cam, do you think that, I know as soon as this happened, you were excited.
I was excited. I think you older gentlemen, you pre-millennials, like I see it's more interesting for you guys to see Ken Hitchcock because you guys all watched the 90s Oilers, the really good Dallas Stars teams. I didn't. I don't have a memory of those times, but you look back at the players he developed, and I would love to see McDavid kind of round out his game and become a Mike Modano. Like Mike Modano became a consistent Selke candidate, and he still scored 90 points a year in the dead puck era. I'd love to see Jesse Puljujarvi become a Yuri Lettinen or Oscar Klefbom become Sergei Zubov. Like he's got a great history of developing players into like really well-rounded stars.
Who do you think, I'll go around the table here too. Who do you think is going to benefit the most from having a guy like Hitchcock poking and prodding and pushing? Dan, what do you think?
I think a guy like Darnell Nurse is gonna really benefit from this. I think he's a Hitchcock type guy, and I think he's gonna get all the opportunities to succeed.
Corey, what do you think?
You know, in all honesty, I think the whole team in a collective is going to learn some defensive play. They all have a lot to prove right now for a new coach, but I hope it's Lucic. I really do hope it's Lucic. I mean, what do we have to lose at this point? He's got to get better. I'm sure he'll get better. And I mean, Ken mentioned that too on Bob McCown's show, that between him and Cassian, those are two guys that he's going to start with, right? And they should be easy fixes, hopefully quickly, and then we can get them going, right? I
thought one of the interesting things too, he obviously is doing the tour de force right now in the press, but I thought one of the interesting quotes he had was yesterday when he talked to the Edmonton media. He did a little scrum where he talked about, he was asked his approach to offensive creativity and whether he's going to stifle guys like McDavid, which is absurd. But his answer was, when you have the puck, that's for you. But when you don't, that's for us, and there's no negotiation. So I like the idea of him having a strict plan in place on the defensive side of the puck, and then just letting the horses go, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes the pony's got to gallop, Dan.
Yeah, and that's been a thing that they talk about even just with the North American game, just taking a lot of the creativity out of the game. That if you let these kids just do what they want to do when they have the puck, that's huge for them.
It's crazy to think, but I think he's actually going to help someone like Connor the most. He's going to get that support around him. Connor's going to get a little bit of weight off his shoulders, and his game is going to open up even more, knowing that he can just go out there and do Connor things rather than try and drag the entire organization. He's going to get everyone behind him moving. We're going to move as a team, and Connor's going to absolutely take off.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and it was floated around when Hitchcock was first announced that he's just going to stifle our offense, which is just
Floated around by one guy.
Yeah,
He's going to tell McDavid you're not allowed to pass the center line. You're back there. You're a rover.
Puck's deep.
Yeah, puck's deep.
He's
You know
going
what?
to turn McDavid into a defenseman. He's going to play there on the second pair with Chris Russell.
I thought it was super interesting. He says all the right things, and anytime he speaks, you're just like, man, I believe everything you're selling me here, Hitch.
He could literally sell me anything. He could sell me a house right now. I don't have any money. And I would just dive right into a mortgage. I'd be like, you know what, Hitch? Fuck yeah, let's do it.
First segment of the podcast, as always, brought to you by our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant, 2540 Broadmoor Boulevard in Sherwood Park, Alberta. They are stuffing a giant truck full of toys. And as Cory mentioned earlier in the podcast, going down for a test drive. Get down there.
Come on down. Let's have some fun. Let's talk some Oilers. Drive a truck. Drive a car.
You're telling me
Go
that
eat
you
some
wouldn't want to
food
go test drive an F-150 today? Get out of here.
Seriously.
Get out of here.
I want to do it right now.
Of course you do.
Got one out front.
Nation
They are.
Trucks parked out front. Looks great. I see it from space. I love it. You can't test drive that one, but Sherwood Ford will let you test drive other ones. Go check something out. Maybe go talk to Victoria. She's available right now at sherwoodford.ca. She's ready to help. They're ready to help.
They have a Super Nintendo at Sherwood Ford. Me and Chris went there to film a video, play a little bit of Mario Brothers 2.
Wow, is that? You guys have a Super Nintendo there?
Of course we do. We work hard.
Work hard, play hard.
Sell a
of
car,
which-
you get an hour on the Super Nintendo. Let's do it.
Sorry.
Speaking of which, how much? Obviously, all season long, we're doing the Frank versus Gus dog picks. What I want to know is how much work gets done when Gus is around.
Not a lot. Not a lot. He's obviously there to distract us a little bit from the 9 to 5 grind, but he's the director of smiles, man. That's what he does.
He does a
Keeps
great
us
job of it.
motivated.
He's amazing at it.
He does a great job of it. Go, Gus. Frank's beating you. Frank's beating you.
Bragging rights.
Cory, I want to ask you a little bit about the game day videos. You've been on different locations, different approaches. How have you found that the videos have changed a little bit since we're moving from early dark days, 0-2 start,
Yeah.
roared back, and then the wheels fell off again?
Like it's been a roller coaster, honestly. It's some days we're in there motivated, ready to go, and then I'm sure you guys have seen sometimes it's a tire fire, right? We're fired up, we're not too happy with where the play's going, and I voice my opinion. I mean, there's we've got a research and development team behind this that knows what they're doing. Shout out to Curtis, Tim, Drew, but it's fun to do. It's exciting, and it takes a lot of energy. I need a nap after those.
Well, I love the passion because you go full into it. You go, in my opinion, you go full Don Cherry.
Yes.
You're yelling. You got the takes. You're around trucks. I like the hitch thing from the other day. That was obviously great. Fit.
Yep.
What kind of material are you planning for? Like we got an early game coming up on Friday. Tomorrow. We're recording on Thursday, by the way. This is a little bit strange, but that's okay. Weird. What do you got planned for the Ducks tomorrow?
Whoa.
we
I
get
can't
a-
be
we get
telling
a
you guys
teaser?
these secrets.
Okay.
You'll see when it gets posted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What I want to get into next is we talked a little bit about about Ken Hitchcock's defensive approach. In 31 Thoughts yesterday, Elliot Friedman talked about the immediate impact he tends to make with teams. So when he got to Dallas, they went from 260 goals against to 222 in his first year. Obviously, that's a big chunk of offense. In Philadelphia, they went from 192 to 166. He coached 62 games in his opening season with Columbus. They dropped from 276 to 244. In St. Louis, they dropped from 228 to 155 in his first full year. Dan, what do you think he is going to make the biggest impact in the defensive zone? Where do you see it?
Well, I think for him, it's he's kind of got that Gerard Gallant kind of approach to things where he doesn't ram it down your throats when you make a mistake. And I think that's huge for guys like Russell and Nurse, the guys that are the middle of the defense that are logging some minutes. You know, we saw Larson get absolutely danced by Logan Couture there on Tuesday night.
Not a great look.
No, it wasn't great, but you know, he's not gonna stick Larson's nose in it, and that's what matters.
Larson's gonna beat himself up for that.
Oh yeah,
he's a pro hockey player. He's got an ego. He doesn't want that to happen to himself.
Yeah.
Well, and you don't want to be the dude losing your jock on a highlight that's going to get replayed over and over and over again.
No, exactly. So I think it's going to be good for the guy's confidence back there, and then also it can't hurt to have the forwards helping you out all the time now.
Well, I thought it was interesting too when he talks about, if you buy in, I'm going to push you, and if you don't take it personal, you'll be able to get something from this. So I'm curious to see what he's going to do. He talked a lot about supporting each other. I thought it was super interesting, Rick, that his take on our centers is that they don't touch the puck nearly enough. And when you have a center like Connor McDavid, thinking about getting him the puck more makes me happy. He talked about maybe doubling his touches. Doubling, Rick.
This is kind of why I think he's going to really help Connor's game a bit. He sees what we see, obviously, although I'm assuming he also sees that he doesn't really have anybody inside the top six besides those three centers. But that's besides the point. Thanks, Pete. But no, he's going to, he knows what he's got to do out there. He's got to get the puck in your playmaker's hands. When it came to Dallas, that's what he did. He got the puck, you got the puck to your scorers. You got Modano and Zubov used to kill us. Absolutely throttle us from the point. I hated that guy for years because he was so damn good. No, Hitch he knows what to do, man. You got to win by scoring goals, and that's what he's going to end up helping the guys do.
One of the big things too, I think, is that Hitchcock recognizes the value of a Ryan Nugent-Hopkins as a second. I was
just about to say that. Yeah. We haven't mentioned that name, but I mean, a kid like that works hard. Obviously, his defensive prowess. You could turn that guy into a Patrice Bergeron.
I was talking about it upstairs before we started. I'm really excited to see what he does with a guy like Nuge, because Nuge is a hardworking kid. He's open to coaching. He just wants to do what it takes to win. And the quote from yesterday that just sent my heart aflutter was, the thing that goes underrated is that I'm able to keep Connor and Leon together because of the good play of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I'm able to play those guys together because Nugent-Hopkins can carry his own line. He's capable of that stuff. He's a very effective player. So saith Ken Hitchcock. Cam, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's accurate. Nugent-Hopkins has always been an underrated player because, first overall pick, he doesn't really put up that many points from we've been so spoiled with first overall picks like McDavid, Matthews, Nathan McKinnon, Tavares, come into the league and they just light it up. Whereas Nugent-Hopkins more like a 50-point guy that plays really well two ways, and that's really undervalued. And I think that Hitchcock can get more out of that, and like you guys said, turn him into a Bergeron player. And every team needs that guy. You need that guy to shut down the other team's better guys.
Do you have concerns though about who's playing alongside Ryan Nugent-Hopkins?
That is a huge concern. One thing the Oilers badly need is both Kyler Yamamoto and Puljujarvi to be able to develop into top six wingers, because those probably are the two guys that fit on Nugent-Hopkins' wing, especially if we're diving into McDavid and Draisaitl being the thing.
Corey, you were nodding your head.
Well, because Nuge has never had a supporting cast on his wings, right? I mean, he's always been out there battling by himself with a bunch of no names. And if we get a guy like Puljujarvi come up and become a legitimate top six NHL player with underneath Ken Hitchcock, you might as well get Hitchcock a statue right now. I mean, that's what we're looking for.
That's the guy who I think is going to have the biggest benefit from Hitchcock too.
Nuge?
No, Puljujarvi.
Speaking of Puljujarvi, Bob Stauffer tweeted out a couple of days ago, "Don't be surprised if Jesse Puljujarvi rejoins the Oilers by the time Edmonton hosts Dallas next Tuesday. In 3 games with the Condors so far, Puljujarvi has 3 points. You got a scrap, although you got to dumb it a little bit. But you know what? He was fighting a guy with a whole
at least he tried
of AHL fights, and he didn't back down. So I give the big man credit. Dan, do you think it's too soon to call Puljujarvi back? Last week on the podcast, we were talking about him being down for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Here we are, a week later.
I wanted to see him. Well, and that was, and I mean, of course, what can change in a week, right? With McClellan leaving and in comes Hitchcock. But apparently there's been a lot of talk about making sure that Puljujarvi's traction gets gained with Hitchcock as the coach. But I don't know. It's tough because when you bring in Puljujarvi, somebody's out. And who is that person? It's looking like it probably Ty Ratty. And
can you imagine what Ty Ratty's reaction was when he saw Hitch as his coach again?
Yeah.
He's in St. Louis and he's like, this guy just never played there.
From
now
Look,
Hitch is back.
you have the numbers there for Ratty.
From the 2013-14 season until 2016-17, Ty Ratty played under Ken Hitchcock in the St. Louis system and only got in 30 games over that span, Corey. So all I can imagine is that Ty Ratty, when he saw the news on Tuesday morning, he let out a big audible fuck.
Well, in all honesty, his play has impacted. I mean, does he really earn a spot in the lineup right now? I don't think he does, honestly. Since last year, he was on the top line with Connor. He played well. This year, he's done absolutely nothing, in my opinion. So, I mean, why would we not give Pool Party a shot? I know that obviously there's no secret. McClellan and Pool Party didn't see eye to eye. I'm sure Ken will give him a fresh breath of air here, give him an opportunity to develop into the system on the top spot, right? So,
for a guy like Puljujarvi, I think that having a new coach and a fresh start is probably going to be a breath of fresh air for that guy, in the sense that he was coming out of the lineup. Others were staying in at times when you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing to not be in the lineup when this guy's in the lineup. And I'm really curious to see how Hitch treats him and whether or not this is going to be the start of something beautiful for our big adult Finn.
Large adult son.
I don't think Todd and Pete saw eye to eye on some of their roster moves. I know for a fact after Eberle got traded, Todd was pissed. He moved out 25 goals, sure thing, eyes closed, no problem. And he brought in Strome, which is not really an effective maneuver. I honestly, that's where I think Puljujarvi went, where things went wrong with him this year, is that Chia said he's got to be here. Todd said he's not ready, put him back down, and they butted heads for a while, and Todd's like, well, if you're going to force me to play this guy, I'm going to put him in an area where he really can't hurt the team as much, because obviously he didn't think he was ready to roll, and he put him in the black hole on the third line with those two guys that had absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it's been a tough season for Puljujarvi so far. So,
does anybody buy into the narrative that Todd McClellan lost the room?
I do.
Do you?
Yeah,
what do you think?
I do. It kind of seems from the effort that was given in the last couple weeks that some players have kind of tuned him out. And I mean, it happens in the NHL, and when you don't breed success consistently, and maybe the approach that he had, not the honest approach that Ken has, that maybe some players start to turn on him, lack of effort, lack of caring what he had to say. And I mean, that's obviously becomes cancerous. Well,
and one of the common things we keep hearing from people that leave the organization is that the communication is lacking, and that's not changing. It's been years after year after year. And also the other thing that we heard all last year was that they wanted to stop the McBlender, and that never stopped. So it just seems like he wasn't listening to the feedback he was getting.
The nice thing about Ken Hitchcock, I found this article when he was in Dallas last year that came out of a Dallas website, and he was talking about working with the younger generation of players. And the quote says, this is from Hitchcock, he says, I find when you talk after a game to this younger generation, they can't remember what you said. All they remember is whether you were happy or mad. So they're missing the message. So the next day you have to kind of like dive into what they did and why they have to do it, rather than, giving them an emotional reaction the night of, because they're not going to absorb anything.
Well, and I wonder too, like, one of the things we often hear about Ken Hitchcock is that he's just consistent in his messaging over and over and over and over again. So he says sometimes you may not like what he says, but he's going to be consistent. And I think maybe that's what the Oilers need right now. They need a little bit of that structure, a fresh breath, a fresh look. Teach the guys how to play defense, Dan.
They're a young team too, right?
One of the youngest in the league, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, and I also heard that in this time since he last retired up until now, he's been studying sports psychology. So he's been working on, on how to communicate with the younger generation, because he said
with the millennials
he's dealing with. He said he's dealing with I generation.
Yeah, he was talking. He went past millennials, Coom. You're an old guy now.
I'm a fossil. He's now dealing with Gen Z.
One of us.
He's dealing with the iPad kids, man. We're a weird bunch.
And Ken looks like a dinosaur, right? I mean, he really does. He's from the old school, but he's got a new school approach to this, and you can just tell in his interviews that the way he brings himself across, it's a new style, and that's what you got to do with this. I guess Gen I is what it's called.
Do you think he's going to communicate with the younger players with memes?
Oh, you showed him some memes?
Because that's the language that they speak. You get some dank memes in there, and it's like, here's how you played.
Like, he just shows Jesse Puljujarvi like a meme that explains exactly what happened. He's just like, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I'm with you. I like that. I like that. That's a fresh approach.
You should just look at Oilers Twitter from the other night. That was entertaining in itself. All the Ken Hitchcock avatars coming up. And
That's you know what? Enjoyable. That's one of my favorite things that's happened from this is everybody changing their Twitter profile picture to a Ken Hitchcock reaction of some kind. The man's face is so expressive.
Thick new daddy.
Thick new daddy indeed. But you know what? It's like I was looking at Todd McClellan reactions and the dude's a statue. There was no difference in his face, whereas Ken's a lot more expressive.
Yeah,
found some beauties.
He's an absolute beauty. I've got him at the award show with the old aviators on his head.
I got him lifting the weight.
Yeah.
Nice. I got him poking out from the bench. And I mean, our last few coaches, they all have personalities of a wet cloth, you know, and Ken coming out here. I mean, even just the picture of him, like when he was at the Winter Classic in St. Louis Blues get up.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
he
knew what he was doing there.
With the big aviators.
He's got
and
a ton of swagger, hey?
Definitely.
Oh, man. And when he had that old timey hat on, get out of here. I love it. The second half of the Oilers Nation Radio podcast brought to you by our friends at Get Sauced. Go check them out at getsauced.com. Dan, you were out there the other day. I heard that they are finally getting closer to preparing radio silence. The ingredients are in-house. I saw them in a bag.
Yeah, it's been super wild for the guys and gals over at Get Sauced. They spend about 1 day a week in Edmonton, and then they're on the road listening to the ON Radio podcast on their way. But I guess Dustin said that, he just needs to take a day where he can get this radio silence all into a vat and let that vat stew and grow.
Part of me is very happy about this because Jay has been dreading the next round of Coombs Trivia for weeks now.
He's been talking a lot of shit.
He was talking a lot of shit. And you know what? It's been carrying over. Now it's in his brain. Now it's in his wheelhouse. We are occupying space in Jay's brain.
Yeah, he should charge me rent. Because I'm living there right now.
That's right. And I just can't wait to get this done.
Hey, on the bus when I was doing trivia, I didn't see Jay answer a single question.
Even when we did a fake run upstairs with no punishments whatsoever, he was dawdling on his answers.
Yeah, he came upstairs and he's making fun of the boys for not being able to name 10 of the top 20 Swedish scorers of all time. And I'm like, all right, we'll take out the Sedins and you name 10 Swedes. And it took him about 45 minutes and he named like 3 guys.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? And there was no punishment. There's no pressure here, Corey. No pressure on Jay.
That's embarrassing. Seriously. Come on, Jay. You can be better.
Weak effort by Jay. Thanks again to our friends at Get Sauced. Go check them out at getsauced.com, 9620 58th Avenue, or 780-462-2418. Don't like calling people? I get it. Human interaction is hard. Sales at getsauced.com. Boys, I want to finish off with some more Hitchcock quotes because the guy he's speaking to my soul. He was asked about what's going on with Milan Lucic yesterday, and I thought he had a really interesting quote about what he sees in Lucic and the fact that it came after only 24 hours. Who knows how many Oilers games he's been watching this season, but I love the quote. He says, there's a reason he doesn't score. He goes into a support position on the ice too quickly. He doesn't hold his ice. If he holds ice longer, he's going to get a ton of chances, off shin pads, off skates, but he doesn't hold his ice. If I can get him to hold his ice longer in critical scoring areas, then he'll be way, way more effective. And I think Kassian can do the same thing on the other side. Corey, did Hitch nail it again?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I mean, I think he feels like he knows where he can tweak Lucic's and Kassian's game to be better, to get to a more offensive prowess. I have my doubts. The guy seems like he's holding like a rubber stick, and sometimes when the puck goes on his stick, it explodes. I just don't have any trust in him right now, to be honest with you. Hopefully Ken can just breathe a little bit of that magic into him. Even if we can get 5 goals out of Luch for the rest of the season, I mean, is that so much to ask?
Scoring prediction for Lucic? Should we revisit what happened last week, Dan?
Yeah, we sure can.
Jay Down coming in the mix. He's trying to throw us off our game because
picking up the keys of the nation truck.
He just heard us talking shit about him because radio silence coming soon.
Sorry, what was the question again?
Let's revisit the score predictions from last week. We're going to get Corey in the mix on this as well. Dan, do you remember when you said he would score?
Yeah, this coming Thursday against the LA Kings at home.
This coming Thursday against the LA Kings. Cam, do you remember what you said? You just said before the
I just
end
said
of the year, right?
before New Year's, and I'm going to edit that prediction so it's a lot less vague. So I'm going to say he scores on New Year's Eve against the Jets, and he just cracks into my prediction of pre-New Year.
Right behind me, Rick said that he was going to score in Calgary. Well, womp womp. I still think the game right before the Christmas break, Tampa, Lucic is coming for you. Corey, we're going to put some pressure on you now. You had a chance to look at the schedule?
Oh yeah, and Chris also said something about Pittsburgh in February, I think it was.
Oh yeah, Chris didn't have very much. He didn't have very much.
love for
At the World Hockey Championship in June, when he's representing Team Canada.
Sorry.
So
to you,
Lucic
Cory O.
has 2 goals in his last 67, if I'm not mistaken. Corey, you've had a chance to check out the schedule. What are you thinking?
You know what? Honestly, that I hope it's not till New Year's. I really hope it's not, and I'm going to put a little bit of faith in the guy. I'm going to go December 7th. We're at home, Minnesota Wild. A few games ahead from now. Maybe Ken Hitchcock takes a week or two to tweak his game, but December 7th versus the Wild at home.
We've got an array of guesses here, Dan.
Yeah, we do.
We have got a wide
Someone's
spread.
going to be correct.
If somebody nails it, there should be some kind of prize for anybody who nails it.
They're the answer for an hour.
Well, I can't be the answer, Dan. I don't play in the Oilers.
Hey,
Come
you can
on.
you can wear the belt.
I'm gonna buy a belt and I'm gonna wear it everywhere because I feel like I deserve it. Before we get to the next topic, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to Damien. Manuel gave us a tweet at ON Radio Podcast on Twitter. He said, "Can you give my son Damien a shout out? It would be so rad." Well, Damien, I see you wearing an Oilers jersey here. You look great. You're in your full kit. You got a nice little vapor stick there. Great tape job. Strong tape job. Looks great. Mouth guard hanging. I like it. Cam, thoughts?
He's got a good look for a young child. He's got better style than I ever had, even as like a 16, 17-year-old playing midget.
I can tell by the way he's standing, by the way he's just kind of got a strut there. This is a confident young man.
This kid looks like the kind of kid who would take the body, like throw a big hip check, even in like novice.
Shout out Damien.
Damien, go out and
Keep
score
your head
a goal,
up,
buddy.
kids.
Oh yeah, he's got to throw a bow at you. So I want to get back to the Lucic comment where Hitchcock said that he is not holding his ice. Cam, what do you think that Hitch sees in that?
I think what you're seeing with Lucic is he's taking like a lot of like long circles. Like he kind of looks tired. You know what I mean? Like he's, rather than stopping and starting, he's, going to a spot where he thinks he can maybe pot a goal. Like it looks like it's weighing on him that he hasn't scored. So he's like, I'm going to go to the front of the net. And then, rather than being in a better spot to actually contribute to the play.
I've said this a bunch of times. I think I even said it on the podcast. It drives me crazy when Lucic is on the power play. And instead of screening the goalie, just parking yourself there, he always slides off 3 feet to the left. He's like trying to provide a low option or whatever. But when you can't pass, don't be an option. Just stand there. Smitty made a ton of money standing there.
No kidding.
A ton of money.
And
Dan?
Smitty could pass.
Well, he had that big old canoe paddle. Like nobody's not going to, he's just going to send it wherever he wants with that thing. Corey, what do you think that Hitch is talking about here?
I mean, maybe Luch should take some notes from Smitty, right? Go to the canoe paddle. It wouldn't hurt. I mean, it's not like he has got an Ovechkin curve right now that's picking corners, right? So, I mean, one thing I noticed in San Jose is that Ken was double shifting Connor and a lot of quick shifts, right? And maybe that will help Lucic quicker shift. He's not looking so dog tired out there and having that quick 30-second burst up and down the ice. And then obviously his ice time is probably going to get limited if Connor's getting double shift, right? So I think possibly with shorter shifts, tweaking the system a little bit, and then of course the defensive zone, hopefully that all contributes to him getting up the ice. And you know what? Just put your ass in front of the net. That's all you have to do. There's no rocket science to it.
I liked when Hitchcock said he just needs to stop talking about how he's not scoring.
That's right.
It's not helping anybody. Just get out and bang and crash. Throw your big body around. He does a lot of that stuff generally, but the play dies on his stick so much that it's so frustrating to watch. That third line the other day of Lucic, Brodziak, Cassian, they looked really good, Dan.
Yeah. I think a big thing for any big guy in this game is confidence. And I think when a guy is not, Hitchcock kind of spoke to it when he said, like, stop talking about how you haven't scored goals, because it's just not a part of his game anymore. It's just having that confidence to go out there and hit somebody and then have that be good enough and not have to worry about, well, I'm on the second power play, so I got to contribute offensively. Like, it's just not.
Well, he was definitely doing that hitting thing in the last game there. I saw him a bunch of times. He was on the ice maybe 7 or 8 shifts and had probably 9 or 10 hits. Yep. He was. That was definitely a focus for him. You could see it. He was out there trying to do that stuff. But when it comes to his Hitch's quote there, I believe it's that in front of the net stuff, like Bag Milk was saying. Whereas, he stands there, and when he turns away as the shot's coming in. I think he's looking at by support. He's looking for that rebound. He's trying to get the puck off the boards. If it's a miss, if it's, going wide of the net or something like that. And Hitch's point is, you stand there, and he said it goes off his shin pads, his ass, whatever. That's what he's referring to. Stand there, wait for that shot to get past you, turn around. He's a big dude. Their goalie's not going to be able to see very much. You're going to have another defenseman there with them too, right? So now you're talking two guys standing in front of them. That puck's going to get through. You turn around and then you start whacking at it. And that's where the goals are going to come from. He said, just around the crease. That's how Smitty scored the goals. He stood there. If it didn't go off his face, he turned around and swatted him in. Yep. And that's really going to help Lucic's game because it isn't a finesse game. It isn't between the blue lines. His whole game is... put the basketball key in front of an NHL net, and that's where he's supposed to be. He's an in the paint type of player. Bang home the rebounds, deflect something, get him off your shin pads, get him off your ass. We don't care. Earn that $6 million, and I still say he's going to have 4 to 5 goals by the end of the year.
He's better in front of the net because sometimes when Lucic skates around, he looks tired. Like Lucic, some big skating, he looks like he might have an asphyxiation.
Hey, word of the day.
Boom,
word
of the day.
Boom,
I got it in.
Right there.
There
nice.
It is.
Word of the day. Wow. Cam's sliding it in at the 40-minute mark.
I just remembered.
Corey brought up a good point where he said that Connor's being double shift, which I love. If Connor could play 60 minutes, and that's the play. But what I'm wondering about is Cooper Marody right now, Cam. He last game he only played 459. Is there a point in having him here if he's only going to play 459?
No, this is like he had such a good thing going down in the AHL when there was Tyler Benson. Evan the intern just walked into the room.
Rolls in an hour late.
Rolls in so
unbelievable.
So late. He didn't bring brunch for anybody. He sent me a text, said, "Sorry, I'm going to be late. I'm going to buy brunch for everyone," but that didn't happen. But Cooper Marody had a great thing going on down in the AHL with Tyler Benson and Cam Hebig. They should get that line back together because I feel like sooner rather than later that line could come up and be aligned together for the Oilers.
Who do you think, if Marody's going down, who fills that roster spot?
I think Puljujarvi comes back up, and then we might see, I don't know, maybe Spoonman play some center.
Cuddles, you would think Cuddles moves to the middle?
Potentially. I mean, what other centers are there on the roster if Draisaitl's a winger now? Because they traded Ryan Strome, who, while he was extremely underwhelming, was a pretty good defensive center.
Sure. Yeah, actually, it's kind of interesting that they traded Ryan Strome, a handful of days before Ken Hitchcock shows up, because he's probably like a Hitchcock kind of defensive player now. Mm-hmm. What I'm wondering is a guy like Marody, do you think would be any interest from the Oilers right now in picking up a guy like Marco Dano, who just got put on waivers this morning? He has struggled. He got put on waivers. This is the second time this season. Obviously, Colorado is not thrilled with his 0 points in 8 games. Do you think like a stopgap like that is kind of what the Oilers should look at doing right now, Dan, and send Marody back so that he can play more minutes?
It's arguable. I mean, when you get waived twice in 1 year, it's probably a significant showing that you're actually an AHL player. But I mean, you're not going to hurt Marco Dano's development by having him ride the pine for you for a couple weeks. What's that?
Oh, that was just my sound went up. I had an auto ad that showed up.
Oh, nice, perfect. Yeah, you're not hurting Marco Dano's development if you have him riding the pine or up in Popcorn Alley up there. But yeah, it's tough to have Cooper Marody sitting up.
I don't think you need to bring anybody in. Cooper can go back down and keep playing in the top 6 down there. You've got Russell up here already. Jujar is very capable of playing 4th line center, 3rd line center, whether you want to call the Brodziak, Cassie, and Luch the 3rd line or 4th line. That doesn't really matter. Jujar can play that other spot. I don't think you need to bring in another contract. I don't know what I don't even know what he gets.
So you do JJ, Russell, and
who the hell's left? I don't know. Go through the roster.
Marody. I mean, did I hear this accurate? Ken was saying he didn't play Marody enough because he didn't know what his name was.
He said there was one guy. He said I don't know what his name was. I went up
sure
4 different names. I called it 4 different names. The guy didn't go on the ice once, and I think by the end of the game they had a nickname for him. And yeah, no, that easily could be him.
If you polled Oilers fans, like you grab a random sample size outside of Rogers before a game, and you asked who is Cooper Marody, how many people would know who he was?
I'll put him in a lineup, and no one's picking him out.
Yeah, 30% maybe at best.
Nobody could pick him out in the crowd. Like if he came to the Pint after the game, would anybody recognize him?
Well, he's been there. He's come in a couple times.
Rick would recognize
He's
him.
come in. Yeah, no,
He's been in the cooler a few times.
He's been in the pint once or twice. No, you know what? I don't think Hitch wants a young guy on the back end, on the bottom six like that. I think he wants a veteran type of guy where he can throw them out in defensive situations and be completely reliable. So I don't see a young guy being who he wants down there. It's gonna be someone older, someone he can just trust, and he's an older player type of guy, and he's got to go back down and play down there with those top six, and they'll just use someone else to kind of fill the spot for the next 60 games or whatever it is.
Brad Malone?
This might be the time where you actually get Brad Malone back. Looking at the next couple of games, finishing off the California road trip in Anaheim tomorrow, then they play the Kings. What are you guys expecting from the next two games? We start off, big win for Hitch. Dan, what do you think in the next two? What's your prediction? I'm
liking our chances against Anaheim. I just we aren't the same matinee team that we always have been. So I like us against Anaheim. I feel like we're maybe set up for a bit of disappointment against the LA Kings, though. I think they're one of those teams that's bad, Dan, but no
love from Dan.
We go up against lesser teams like Calgary and we lose to them. So, it's just it's one of those things. But I think we'll beat Anaheim tomorrow. We'll probably lose to LA.
Cory, what do you think? You're shaking your head at Dan, and I agree.
Honestly, I think that LA roster, you want to talk polar opposites. If we might be the millennials or Generation I, the LA Kings, those are baby boomers out there.
Yeah, they're geriatrics.
They move like baby boomers. Man.
They've got some bad contracts on that roster. You look at the multiple years that they have for 35-year-old plus players, it's ugly. And we complain about Lucic. At least we have one contract. They have like 4 or 5 guys that they're going to be disasters in a couple years. And I think that's a team that we can outskate and beat easily.
What do you see in the next two? Are we sweeping?
We're sweeping this Cali trip.
That's
no
what
doubt
I think
about
too.
it, man.
I think too. We're sweeping California, Cam.
The Oilers are good against the Pacific Division. They didn't show it against Calgary and Vegas, but these are the teams that they're built to beat. Like Pistol Pete put together a weird roster, but it's a weird roster that competes against.
And we're going with it.
Well,
I'm completely on board for the California sweep. It's
California dreaming, man.
We got this. We're going 3 in a row, and we're coming back home. And Hitch is going to be raised off the plane. Everyone's going to carry him to the bus, and we're going to that play. We're going to the playoffs, boys. Let's go.
Battle of Alberta in the playoffs. I see it happening.
Battle of Alberta in the playoffs would be fantastic. This last break is brought to you by our friends at Get Sauced. They've got the sauces. They've got rimmers. They've got all the accoutrement that you need to make your meals and drinks everything they can be. Evan loves them. Evan was even thinking about replacing ketchup as his favorite drink with some kind of sauce, like
That's
some kind
shocking.
of curry sauce. Get Sauced.
Evan finally mixing it up. That's good to see because he's been a ketchup guy for about 37 years now. Evan's in his mid 40s. I know it's kind of a weird thing, but he's an intern and he's in his mid 40s. He's been drinking ketchup since he was 15.
Quit his job as an insurance salesman. He was going door to door trying to offer people life insurance. He's just like, you know what? This is not for me. I'm a 45-year-old man and I need a new start. So he went to school, went into that Nate TV and radio program, and here he is with us drinking ketchup. We can't even keep it in the office anymore.
Ketchup's the fountain of youth?
Apparently. Look at him. Looks great.
Keeps
See
him,
that?
keeps him real young.
How would you rank Evan's Movember stash, Cory? As you're looking at him?
Oh, geez, there's a Movember stash there. Can you put that into the light a little bit more? Yeah, 2 out of 10.
Just 2 more and I'd give you, Evan, to be honest. Boys, this is a little bit of an interesting weekend here in the city. Grey Cup. Dan, I know you're excited. You love the CFL. You're a big CFL guy.
I am a huge CFL guy. I'm more of an Eskimos guy than a CFL guy, but it's exciting to have the championship game here.
Something that
Eskimos couldn't make the playoffs.
Something that got thrown my way, Dan, right before we were going to record, is the story of Chris Matthew. If you don't know who Chris Matthew is, this man is a Winnipeg Blue Bombers fan who's been wearing shorts for 17 years until they win the Grey Cup. He makes you look like a sissy boy, Dan.
Yeah.
You've still got 16 years to go.
Yeah.
Catch up to Chris Matthew, and I wanted to get your immediate reaction on somebody that could arguably be more dedicated than you.
Well, you know what? Chris Matthews, shout out to him for wearing the shorts for as long as he has. He's waiting for a championship in an 8-team league versus me waiting for a team to do well that's been bad for 13 years. But you know what? Shout out to him for doing that. But also he's not running kilometers after every loss. And I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Well, you don't know that. You don't know that. He might go
fair.
for a nice hike.
He might be.
I haven't read the piece, but
And in all honesty, all his losses, what, total 8, maybe 10 a season?
yeah, exactly.
You've got like 45, 50 to go?
I do. I've run 14 I've run 14 kilometers already this season.
You did not have a very fun run on Saturday night, Dan.
Saturday night or Sunday night. Sunday night I got ill afterwards, so that was good.
Could also be a product of wearing shorts and running.
Yep. Very, very likely part of one of the key factors into that. But yeah, our run from Singapore Sam's to the hotel was a sad run.
I found this quote from Chris Matthew to be a pretty interesting one. It's like, it's almost like I've become numb or used to it. It's just like, well, they'll find a way to do it again, meaning lose again this year. And I mean, I don't want to belittle the team or anything like that. I just know they're not going to do it. I have to wear shorts for the rest of my life. Dan, thoughts?
That's yeah. It started to feel like that last year. Day 370, 371 was a long one. But yeah, it can get a little draggy when you're pushing your car out of the 4 inches of snow and it's a grind. But hey, we're fans of the team through and through. So
you've also been accused of jinxing the team with this short stunt. I know I have with my beats. And when this Bombers fan, Mr. Matthew, he was asked the same question about whether or not he's jinxing the Blue Bombers, and he says, I really don't think so. But if they came up to me and made an overture and said, would you do it so we could win? I might consider it, meaning putting pants on. If the Oilers approached you and said, Dan, put some damn pants on.
Absolutely.
Would you do it?
I would. If Connor McDavid approached me personally, that's what I'm at. That's what I'm demanding. Yeah. Peter Chiarelli walks up to me and asks me that. I'm saying, no, hell no. How about you fix the team first, Pete?
Why are you talking to me, Pete?
Yeah.
What are you expecting from the Grey Cup this weekend, Dan? With the Ottawa Rough Riders playing the Saskatchewan Rush Riders.
The Renegades, get it right.
Oh, it's the Renegades.
It's the Ottawa Red Blacks playing the Calgary Stampeders.
No, it's the Calgary Rough Riders.
The Calgary Stampeders have traditionally not been able to close out a lot of championship games recently. They did win it in 2014, but have lost to both the Ottawa Red Blacks and the Toronto Argonauts in successive years since then. So they're looking to close it out, and it'll be a heavily anti Stampeders crowd, I believe.
Rick, I drove past the Pint this morning. I saw you guys are getting set up for the big game on Sunday. What are you expecting?
Outside of all the drinking we'll have to do from about 3 o'clock today till, I don't know, maybe 2 a.m. Sunday night, I'm going to sit back and pray that Calgary loses again. I don't think I want to cheer for them in any way, shape, or form. I hope their train system shuts down. I hope their roads get slippery. Like, I don't want anything good to happen from them. And yeah, no, I will definitely have a little more ammo if I can use the fact they've lost 3 Grey Cups in a row. I'm not going to hold my breath, though. I'm kind of worried they're going to win, but I've been like that for the last 2 years anyways.
They've got a pretty good team there in Calgary.
They've got a really good team, yeah. No, they come in every year. We kind of expecting them to, they're pretty much already in the final, so I'm not hoping for too much. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy all the festivities from here till the end of Sunday night.
Cam, you've been looking very excited through this whole conversation. What do you think about the Grey Cup on Sunday? Are you expecting big things?
Which one of these teams does Henry Burris play for?
Dan?
Neither.
Okay. Henry Burris is not playing this weekend.
Henry Burris has played for both of them, though.
Of course he has. I mean, he doesn't have many options.
Yes. At Coom, you were...
CFL quarterbacks is like a game of musical chairs, man. Like every quarterback plays for every team in the league.
You took part in the festivities there yesterday, Coom.
I did. I went to me and Chris the Intern went and did that skiing thing. It's like they constructed a skiing hill out of Lego.
How'd you do?
I made it down without a problem, whereas Chris went down and did pizza the whole time.
Oh, he pizzaed.
He pizzaed the whole time. I got a good...
You went straight French fry.
I went straight down, and I was toppling people over. I was I had my arms out. I went like Eddie the Eagle style, and I was like, "Look, get out of my way! I'm gonna barrel you over."
Those poor kids.
So Coom on the ski hill is the same as Coom at the Saddle Dome, just barreling people over.
Out of the way. If Coombe had a life motto, that's what it would be. It's just out of the way. Corey, what are you thinking for the Grey Cup? Are you excited? Are you a big Rough Riders fan?
Oh, I'm pumped. Can't wait. Who's playing again?
The Red Blacks and the Stampeders.
All right. So I think the Rough Riders will take it. No doubt about it. No, you know what? In all honesty, I'm assuming Calgary's going to take it, but I guess that Ottawa quarterback, not even sure what his name is, had quite the East final. I don't know. I hope Ottawa wins so we don't have to hear anything else from Calgary. That loss on Saturday stung, so I'm done with that city.
And you know what? The people of Ottawa could use something to cheer for, I think.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah.
I think we can all be happy that there's a championship game being hosted in Edmonton at some point.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm looking at you with hatred in my eyes right now, Dan. You can't see this because it's a podcast, but if looks could kill, Dan would be laying on the floor right now.
Hey, you guys have been taking your shots. I got to take my shot at my own sports teams.
I am tired of this. So we are going to wrap up this episode of the Oilers Nation Radio podcast. I want to have a big thank you to Corey for joining us today.
Happy to be here, guys.
No teasing on the video for tomorrow. We're going to have to wait and see what happens there. I want to thank our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant. Go see them, 2540 Broadmoor Boulevard. Give them a call, 587-860-1538. Thank you to Get Sauce as well. Give them a call, 780-462-2418. That wraps up episode 13 of Oilers Nation Radio. Bye-bye.
Best wishes.